the link. All right. So.
Okay, I'm gonna look for you to share on the community board, and I'm gonna reshare it.
Okay, let me. Whoa! Don't hit that. I almost hit Leave Studio. Where is this? Isn't because I'm using. Do we just give the link up here? Let me see. Where do we share it? Let me ask ChatGPT again. Because I've never been on this. How do I share the live link on StreamYard? Question mark.
I don't know. I think, what is it? You stream to your audience. It says stream that to your audience.
Yeah. I'm asking ChatGPT. Let's see if it answers. Taking a minute. How do I share the live link on StreamYard? I think hopefully it'll figure it out. You know what I'll do is I'll text myself this link at the top and see if that works.
Doesn't it? Aren't you connected through StreamYard to YouTube?
I am, yeah, but it's only I'm only on the StreamYard Studio. It doesn't. Let me see. Oh, here it is. If you want your audience to watch you live on YouTube, you share the YouTube live link, not the StreamYard link. Here's how to find it. In your StreamYard dashboard, look at the top right corner of your broadcast setup screen. You'll see a small go live button right next to it under your broadcast title. There's a YouTube icon with a small arrow or a link. Okay, there it is.
I'm going to grab some water.
Take your time. All right. And then you'll see a small go live button. Click that YouTube icon. Copy that YouTube URL from the browser's address bar. It looks like this. Yep. I'm still trying to figure this out. Okay. Copy that. Why do we have feedback? Oh, because I'm on. Do this. Are you still there? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Here, I'm going to text you this, and then just to test it out, and then go on your phone and see if it adds you. There will be tons of feedback, and then just obviously close it on your phone.
Well, I'm on my iPad.
Oh, okay. All right. So let me. That has to be the link, but yeah. Let me. This has to be it. Let's try it. Whoops.
Yeah. We got it.
Okay. I'll tag you on StockTwits, and then Twitter.
Okay, we've got the lag. I'm going to try to take the volume off of it there so that I can at least see the comments, I guess. And then
so I just tagged you in that post.
okay, and I'm going to post it as well.
Yeah, and then you post it as well, and I'll go on Twitter and we'll get moving. And then hopefully all my subscribers will jump in, or some of them. So let me see profile. We'll just wait. We'll have fun. I'm going to tag you on Twitter as well.
Oh, I should get my bear hat.
What's that?
I should get my bear hat.
Yeah, do your thing. Do your thing. Have fun. The one thing we can't do is curse as much as possible because that's YouTube's rules. And I sometimes slip, but I'll try not to. So on Twitter, I'm putting join us live on YouTube with guest Rosella as we jump into the bullish and bearish thesis on IXHL on at Connects Healthcare IXHL. And we're going to take questions somehow. I got to figure out how we're going to take questions, but we'll figure that out. IXHL, and then the $ thing, just to make sure. And then where's the link? Okay, Bing link. Whoops. Okay, I gotta go back and find the link.
Okay. I need to grab a charger for my phone
Okay.
so I can see the messages that are coming in.
Yep. Where's the link? Where's the link? Oh, here's. Hey, if anybody's on here, we are just getting set up and we're just kind of going through the technical stuff. Today's guest is that's really strange. Okay. Let me fix that in a second. Okay.
Okay.
So I gotta figure out why that's happening. Maybe I gotta mute something.
Are they
Is there
not?
still, is there still feedback? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I just had to mute my YouTube. Okay, so now we're both on YouTube.
Okay.
And people are in the room. Hey everyone, just a second, give us 1 second. We're just working out some technical difficulties. And let me just go back here, change this. I'm sure I'm sharing my screen with everyone. Okay. 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 Why are we frozen on the YouTube thing? Hey everyone, is anybody in here? Awkward. Somebody a few weeks ago, you said a market maker, so the industry get this cheap. Do you still think it's gonna happen? Hey, sold out show. Hi Angela. Hi Joanna. Hi Max. Hey James. Hey Andrew. Good to see all of you. Thank you so much for joining and being patient with us as we get everything worked out here. Today we're welcoming Nina Rosella. You know her from StockTwits, and she and I are both happy to be here and happy to take questions and discuss the stock. Say hi, Nina.
Hi, how are y'all doing? This is the first time that I've done anything like this, so bear with me a little bit. I did bring some notes because I thought we could start with that, but I didn't know if you wanted to start with the chart analysis first.
Sure. No, go ahead and start, Nina. I've talked enough over these lives in the past few days. Why don't you do this, Nina? Do your thing, and then also if you could just if you do see any of these questions that you feel like answering and acknowledging while you do your thing, just chime in and make sure we include everyone. Thanks.
And it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to see questions and talk and everything at the same time. So if somebody is asking something really important, please let me know, Brian.
Okay.
Anyways, I decided today that I'm putting on my bear hat. I hope this is okay for everybody.
Can everyone see that? Can everyone see that? I want to see if people can see her in the bear hat, because I have to make sure that because on my YouTube channel it's frozen.
So anyways, I'm in my bear hat right now. I am going to be can you guys see me okay? Let me know.
Can someone answer if they can see her in her bear hat, because my YouTube live is just a frozen image. Can you guys see us? Yes or no?
Oh, I can see us on the YouTube.
Oh, you can? Okay, great.
Yeah,
It's just me then.
Okay, we'll go. All right, you guys. So here's the bear narrative, and this is why we're being attacked so heavily on the stock. And I did a lot of research on this. So typically in a biopharmaceutical stock, you will see a bear case where you've got a company that was originally on global market. So they moved up to global market from the Australian market. Then they downsized to the capital market. Okay. So for a bear case scenario, this is going to be a red flag because they think, oh, you can't meet compliance for the global market, therefore you're going to capital market. And so when they start looking at that and they see, even though the warrants were canceled, they had a massive share expansion. We know the ATM outstanding shares jumped, from like 30 million to approximately 347 million in under a year. So for them, this signals substantial dilution. And but this doesn't take into consideration the context of why they did the dilution, and it also doesn't take in the context of the warrants. So because they have compliance pressure right now, they made a move to capital market, but there's also other aspects to this. Basically, the move to capital market was a way to gain compliance, but it's also a benefit to the company as well. And it's beneficial, as a biopharma stock to move over. The other thing that bears are looking at is a reverse split. Now, the stock has to approve a reverse split in order to get the extension for the compliance. That was just going to be an automatic thing that they would do to show that they can meet compliance, right? So anyways, when they did this, what's really, really important is that you look at the language that they used. The language that they used on the reverse stock split is they said, was it no less than $1, no greater than $50, 1 to 1, 1 to 1 and 1 to 50. So they also stated that it has to be board approved. They also said that if it's absolutely necessary to use the reverse split. They did not say that they were going to do it. It wasn't a mandatory thing. It wasn't something that was inevitable. So the language was very much worded in a way that they did not want this as a first priority. Their move to capital market and the timing, along with the financial restructuring, they had to meet compliance at least, October 20th. But once they've gotten to capital market, it's almost nearly automatic that they're going to get that extension. And the reason is because of the rules of the SEC, the way that it works once they're approved, and they were approved on, June 10th or July 11th, or it was somewhere in June.
June 30th was the end of the fiscal year. 9/29 was the 10K for the annual report. And then, the 10/20th, October 20th is the date or the deadline for compliance. So between that September 29th 10K and the 10/20, which would be Monday, it's typically a silence period. The only thing that we've seen since then was that one tweet by Barbato, right? Dr. Barbato?
Yeah. Right.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So basically, you're also going into phase 3. So there's always funding concerns in phase 3. So they're saying, they're advancing multiple psychedelic and cannabinoid trials into phase 3. This requires tons of millions of dollars. We know this. The bear cases without a large partner, a grant, or a government backing, self-funding, this appears unrealistic. This is very, very typical for a bio stock in the way that the bears look at it. They're looking at dilution. They perceive it, the down move to capital market, the dilution as being financially weak. This is not taking into context what we saw on the 10K and the financial restructuring to set themselves up for being ready to actually get a partnership, institutional investment, and that kind of thing. So that is their narrative. But what we have seen, and I'm taking, the conspiracy side of the bear.
Thesis, yeah.
Yeah, there is, we've seen a lot of backlash on StockTwits, a lot of basically, I mean, I don't need to call it out, but any of you that are on StockTwits, you know what I'm talking about. It's pretty bad. You see mirroring accounts, they'll mirror my account. Other people who have any kind of following or influence in the stock, they'll mirror that. They also, are creating a new accounts each day, responding as though, just bearish response. So what they do is they get the algorithms to pick up the bearish sentiment, and that helps them to continuously put down pressure on the stock itself, especially when we're in a silence period and we don't have a lot of retail momentum. Now, the death spiral for the bear. Well, I'll give you one more thing that's going on. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but it's pretty egregious. And I did bring this up to Inconnects and Joel, and I've sent them multiple messages with the links regarding this. But that article that came out on LD Micro, it came out back on September 8th or September. It was effective September 8th, and it was released on September 4th, and it was a reverse split 1-64 for Safe and Green Holdings Corp. Now, if you go to the link, inside the link says IXHL/news. At the bottom of this page is an IXHL chart. So when AI is scraping data from the internet and the algos are scraping data from the internet, they are pulling up this and saying that IXHL had an approval of a 1-for-64 reverse stock split that was effective September 4th. So they're reading it, the algos are reading it as though IXHL has done this split. That's not the case. It's Safe and Green Holdings. It's an entirely different company. It could be a problem from the aggregating, or somebody could have done this intentionally. I did write the company and I said, you guys have misrepresented and put this false information out there, and it's being picked up. So I think that's part of it. If you look at the movement that happened, I wrote this down.
Yeah, and just quickly, Nina, I'm just going to jump in. I just want to quickly acknowledge everybody. It looks like my chat just kind of died. But I just, wait, I'm trying to flip through this. Let me just close this. End Q&A, confirm. And if any of you guys have, this is the time to ask Nina a question. You probably have seen her for months and months over there on StockTwits, and you might have some questions for her. Sold Out Show says a few weeks ago, you said the market maker would walk this stock down to 20 cents so the industry could get this for cheap. Do you still think that's what's happening? That's a great question. And I did say that. And, I said that for a reason. And I'm not sure right now. We'll have to get back to that. I just want to quickly acknowledge everyone, and then we're going to get back to Nina. Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to say hi to everyone. Angela, Joanna, James, Andrew, Vincent, Brian, Ryan, Shuki, David, all of you, Angela, and Corey, and thank you so much for always for your support and on the channel. And if you guys have questions, please put them in the chat so we can make this the most productive, communication as possible. Go ahead, Nina. All right, thank you.
So basically, when this happened on September 4th, and they posted this article, approximately 52 million shares traded versus 31 million of the previous day. There was no corresponding SEC filing or verified corporate action that occurred that day. So we're assuming that the price decline was likely caused by algorithmic reactions to the false data. There's a lot of off-exchange and manipulation dynamics, short sellers, market makers. They can legally cover positions in dark pools. So that's off-exchange without showing buying pressure on public markets. So they're basically covering off-exchange and they're selling on exchange, which is not fair. It's actually, that's to our disadvantage and to their advantage to illegally do that. I mean, it's illegal because it's manipulation.
Right.
And there's a lot of subtle things about that. So I'm taking off my bear hat now because I am not bearish. I'm bullish on this stock.
Right.
And I think there is a far more bullish narrative in that these bears have basically miscalculated their setup. It could be a number of things. It could be somebody who was short and stuck at the bottom, some really deep pocket. It could be, algorithms and, short sellers coming in. You can't tell. I mean, as retail, we really can't tell. We can look at numbers, we can look at data, and we can try to come to a conclusion, but we really can't tell. So the way that I'm looking at it, and I think Brian is looking at it in a similar way, is basically that the company is restructuring and setting themselves up. They just canceled 347.2 million Series A warrants, and those warrants were a dilution risk. They could possibly have a grant or a phase 3 development that we haven't been seen signaled yet. This could also be contributing to some of their silence. I'm looking forward to the upcoming 10Q filings. Their cash position is very strong, considering what they're doing. Remember, they have 3 medications, not 1, that are in clinical trials. And any reverse split proposals, like I said, I believe it's a last resort. Joel has said multiple times that he has no intention of doing that. It's not what he wants to do, and it's not good for the company either, because what the company will want to see is organic growth from substantial PR news that helps push the stock back up. The key is, and this is my theory on tightening the float and trying to get it to sustain itself above that dollar. With those PRs. And that might be why he's not releasing a lot right now, because in the past we've seen on the PRs that shorts jump in and they push the stock down.
The other thing too is, like, just to jump in real quick, it's like, we've been over this all week long, and within the guidelines of the protocol for that, the actual language in the SEC's rules for the reverse split, they would have had to file already, right? Then you look at the 347 million shares outstanding they reported in that 10K, and you have to ask yourself, why would they do? I don't know what, I'm getting a lot of feedback, sorry, but why would you do it? I might have to mute my other channel or something. Anyway, why would you do a reverse split and remove that amount of shares? You want liquidity. You want liquidity for institutional investment. You want liquidity for any kind of partnerships. You want 347 million shares, So anyway, go ahead, Nina.
There's, I'm just looking at questions here, and one of them from Zane. He's saying, the stock is doomed when they start talking about dark pools, naked shorts, and manipulation. I'm in with 11K at 53, but hate it when it starts going down this road. Yeah. This is actually really common in biopharmaceuticals, and I understand where you're at. A lot of people are in this situation where we're losing our gains that, from the position that we currently have, or we're actually in the negative. It just depends on where you entered. I don't believe it's doomed. What we need to see, and I think what we will see, there's several possibilities. I do know that Joel is investigating it. I know that there's not a lot of confidence in him since he's the CEO. I understand but I feel differently. I think that Joel was first an investor in the stock before he was CEO. I think he has some sense of it, but I also think that it takes time to actually deal with that. I was looking up different strategies because the SEC doesn't often, as we know, take action, and especially with the government shutdown right now, we're not going to see much action. But they have been known to work with other institutions in dealing with the situation and the company itself to get this shorting under control, especially going into phase 3. If they have a substantial PR or something like that, this is going to knock them out. So I don't think it's doomed. I think we're waiting on unknowns right now. See, there's no good news. Joel's staying quiet does not help investor confidence. So Brian and I addressed this, and you want to address it, Brian, regarding the
yeah, I mean, it takes a while. It's like, I don't know why I have so much feedback. I'm pretty new at investing too. I've only been doing it for about 4 years or so. And what I'll say is that it takes a while to figure out all the protocols and stuff like that. But one of them is that when you release a 10K filing, and the time between the 10K and the 10Q, I'm pretty sure could be wrong about everything. Well, it sounds like a duck is quacking. Anyway, yeah, that time is a silence compliance period, and it certainly is up to any kind of compliance period with that October 20th date. They can't say anything. They can't omit information. They're not allowed to say anything. They're not allowed to release PR. Yeah. So go ahead, Nina.
Yeah, that's the other thing. There are SEC regulations where they cannot release certain types of PR. They can't comment on it. They can't comment on the reverse split going into a compliance date, unless it's a notification. They can't comment on the compliance. So when that happens in a company, they'll go through a silent period, and they usually have internal rules about that as well. Staff can't communicate. The CEO can't communicate. The other issue that could be going on as well is that there is some FDA regulations that correlate also with the SEC or what you can do. They're very nuanced and subtle, and there's also if he's in any kind of NDA or negotiations with anything right now, we're not gonna know. And it could be that he's having to watch the stock get this type of pressure, but knows that there's an announcement coming. This is all speculation, and I understand, but I do believe with Joel's confidence, and I feel like he's been sending signals to say that he's confident. He's not a charismatic man. And he doesn't have a lot of fluctuation to his voice as far as excitement goes, but he has given us signals in his language. The $20 million, was it a $20 million buyback? Is that correct? Mm-hmm. The buyback of shares was a signal to talk about his confidence. He accidentally leaked at one point prior to the phase 2, wasn't it, Brian? Yeah. We were talking about that.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me, Nina?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I turned off my external speaker. Anyway, so what was your last question you just said? It was a great question.
Well, I was just talking about, and somebody said the 20 million buyback was never actioned. It's like, it doesn't matter. The thing is that he is trying to signal to us right now that he is confident, and that's based on what he knows internally, as far as the research goes in the stock. But the question I asked you, Brian, we were talking about this, is that he accidentally leaked.
Yeah. So what he said was he used the word promising, and so if anybody was in this stock in May or April or before, when they had those warrants, right? So I was day trading this stock. That's how I came up on it. I made some money on it. I didn't really take it seriously. And then they announced that they were going to, buy back the warrants. And, if anybody day trades or swing trades or anything like that, that like when you get into a stock, if you're trying to scalp it and make money and doing day trading, but you have to also look at the mechanics of their shelf offerings and see if if you could get caught with your pants down, because the stock could just all of a sudden just disappear on you. It could crater. So you have to look at the SEC files and see if there's like a shelf offering, shelf registrations, et cetera, mechanics, warrants. Warrants are super toxic, loans. And you'll want to do that if you're doing any kind of scalping, swinging, or investing at all, right? So what we saw was that these warrants were all of a sudden they signaled then. That was the first signal when they bought back those warrants, right? And then they pinned the price between 18 cents and 20 cents for like 8 weeks straight. And they raised like $50 million while the stock was trending within 2-cent range, right? And then he said, then came that podcast where he said that he literally said that the results of phase 2 IHL 42X are promising, and that you can't do that, but he did it, and it would be whatever. So everybody knew that was holding the shares at 18 and 20 cents knew that all we had to do is wait and watch while they diluted the stock for a little while, because as soon as those top line results came out, the stock was going to run, and it did, of course, right? And I think this time around he's being quiet for that reason, that he might have been told by, look, they're focused on the science. They're not really focused on a lot of many other things. And I'll just say this and shut up, because I want Nina to have the more of the time here. But I will say this. This is a biotech company in 2025 that's using THC, psilocybin, and CBD to disrupt global healthcare markets and $62 billion in total addressable markets, right? And they're in a race. We're on the ground floor with this company. Look, there's only 347 million shares outstanding. Like, people are like, oh, there's 347 million shares. That's nothing for a company in the position that this company is in.
Right.
The rheumatoid arthritis drug is the investigational new drug application with the FDA. That's a catalyst that they're going to announce any day now that says that it's been approved and they're going to commence phase 2. They can use a fluff PR about phase 3 and IHL 42X, the sleep apnea drug. Those two addressable markets combined equal somewhere around $60 billion. Then you have the synthetic psilocybin drug and combined therapy, right? A day or two, 24 hours ago, we saw online evidence of patents in Europe and applications for the combination of therapy. And remember, this guy, we give him such a hard time. And I had to make a public apology, you know what I mean? Because I let my emotions get to me. But honestly, this guy he's really a great CEO. And he raised all this money, and he's been telling us exactly what he's doing. He's very, very, he tells us exactly what he's doing. They're getting FDA approval and trying to patent a combination therapy. They're using synthetic psilocybin and public domain drugs, and they're in a race to get approval for these combination therapies, right? And all three of them are more effective and more safe and less suicidal and less toxic than the current drugs that we have. So we're on the ground floor of a biotech company that is clearly being attacked because we're attempting to disrupt $62 billion in industries. But that I know I'm a lot more convicted and passionate and than Nina is, and that's why I feel like we have the yin and yang today. We have a lot more reason on her side, where I'm more like convicted and more bullish without the technical side. So like when we're seeing the stock get forced down under this day trend line yesterday and today, that's the algorithms, that's the market makers, right? But in my opinion, I'm not some technical guru. I will say this. I believe that all those market makers, 25 or 50 different market makers, are about to flip, and this thing's going to flip bullish any moment now. Go ahead, Nina.
Well, That's what I was going to say. One of the strategies, and I took notes on this, you know, we know about the structural cleanup of the warrants, but what this does is it gives IXHL flexibility. So it gives them flexibility to see like strategic investors, joint ventures, or buyout discussions. That's what, I mean, his setup financially and what he's doing, it may be painful right now, but it's definitely a positioning of the company. He's repositioning the company to have what is necessary to get this phase 3 through. You know, when the dilution, you know, we both feel that it's ended, and things are more, you know, once it becomes more stable, you're going to start seeing, and I think we're already seeing it on dark pools, accumulation at depressed prices. I think there's some institutions that might even start be nibbling into a position. So I just feel like right now we are very much into a transitional period, and that the goal of a bearish narrative and what they're trying to do is they're basically trying to steal our shares, and they're going to make money off of it.
Right.
That's what they're trying to do, and this is part of the market game.
So to put things in perspective, like with math, it's pretty simple. I was saying this yesterday. It's like, so you have 347 million shares outstanding. That means that if let's say yeah, if 100, wait, what does that mean? And that means that if 3,470,000 people bought 100 shares, the stock, there wouldn't be any shares left to buy, right? And you can say, well, 3,470,000, that's a lot of people buying 100 shares, right? It's not. If the PR, if they start releasing that PR, that all of that's going to get eaten up. Because, you know, I got 50,000 shares. I don't know what you have. You know what I mean? So, like, if you think of it that way, there's not a lot of shares. There's really not. Yeah, and to go what Nina was saying, and then we'll get to these questions because I don't want to ignore everybody here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so their job for now, you have a lot of power that we don't really know what's happening. But, you know, but the reality is that, you know, we're disrupting, you know, these massive companies with billions of dollars. They're spending millions of dollars to change that narrative and to create the psychology and the perception while we're watching the chart. And that's why you're seeing this, the price action get stuffed under that daily trend line from July 24th, where it's $1.66 a share. Though that high, right? That's that trend line we have here. And you're seeing price they keep stuffing it under there. That's algos. That's a market maker. That's like, it's like automatic.
It's suppressed.
They have to keep it suppressed because they're creating this psychology that this is a company with no value. But as soon as this thing flips, there's not going to be enough shares left for anybody. So, but let's get to some questions. Go ahead.
I was just noticing. Someone showed me, all right, and this was a comment. Can either of you discuss the argument against doing a reverse split now and then starting buyback once the price plummets? Once that is done, they're buy back $20 million of shares. Again, you know, a reverse split, okay, the float that they have now, the cap market that they have now, the way that they financially structured it is, like I said, it's a beneficial situation that actually encourages more institutional investors, actual investors, not hedge funds and other people coming in. And once it's trading over $1 with a higher quantity of shares, you have less volatility. It's more attractive than having fewer shares. A reverse split would not be in their interest at this point, especially going into phase 3, because it doesn't look good. It doesn't bode well with the FDA. It doesn't bode well with other institutions, because basically what you're saying is that we are not financially strong enough to carry out our work. that we don't have the viability. This is the bear narrative again. It's basically that the company is in financial trouble, that they're not strong, that they've downgraded to capital market, and they're diluting shares in order to pay for this because it's a cash burn situation. This whole restructuring and change actually is to set themselves up to get those investors, and they are going to have to, and I'm guessing that they feel very, very confident at this point, even with the FDA, that they are going to be able to finance the beginning phase of phase 3 in this drug. And that was the strength of their financial position. I think how much they have in cash, like 70 million.
$73 million. That was to the end of the fiscal year of June 30th. I've done all the research on it. It's been 4 months, almost 4 months since the end of the fiscal year. So in my humble opinion, they have completed the $100 million at the market. And here's the thing, guys, and then we'll get to some of these questions. I just want to say real quick, the two things that everyone's scared of the most need filings, right? I always say there's an Edgar SEC landing page here. It's sec.gov/Edgar. You guys should all have this open all the time. Without a filing, without a shelf registration update or a prospectus filing, they cannot access more dilution, right? They've got to be done with that $100 million by now. He just said in the end of June. At the end of June, they had $73 million. That's what a 10K is. They report earnings to the end of that period, right? It's been now 3 more months. Believe me, the $100 million at the market complete. All right. There's a small chance it's not, right? So what does that mean? Okay, so that means that they need to file another file, and they need to do that through a board approval and a vote by the board to get more approval to access more of that original 800,000 share shelf, which we've already used like 450,000 shares by now, right? So in my opinion, don't use those are approximation numbers. The other thing that everyone's also freaked out and scared about, like reverse split. That's the entire bear thesis, basically, is reverse split. Well, for reverse split, we would have needed a filing by now. Every day. So a lot of the stuff we hear and we talk about and see is noise. It's all noise. You got to minimize the noise. If you want to know what's really happening, go to the SEC Edgar filings pages. Without filings, they can't. So this is the thing that I keep trying to make this point, and this is, is that, we're seeing all this price action, and I've seen this in so many stocks before, and it's being suppressed and manipulated and pushed down for a reason. The reason is because these guys are closing these massive short positions and getting out, right? Because the next PR announcement, whether it's the investigational new drug for rheumatoid arthritis, which is a $50 billion addressable market, commencing phase 2, that's a huge announcement and a huge catalyst. Whether it's the 10Q that comes out at the latest November 15th, whether it's IXHL 42X OSA sleep apnea drug announcement stating that they've an update on phase 3, right? Because it's in phase 3, right? So any of these announcements are going to send the stock flying. And guess what? They can't dump millions of shares at the top again this time. Finally, you know what I mean? Without a new filing. Now that said, they may release PR and 20 minutes after they release that PR, they may release another PR saying that they have access to shelf and then added another $50 million or whatever. But right now, the company has stated that they have at least enough money for the next 12 months and possibly more. Other people are like, $73 million is plenty of money for a couple of years. Go ahead.
And the other thing, that question was talking about was, the $20 million buyback. This is something I think needs to be addressed. There are actually rules and regulations about how that buyback can be executed. And it depends on what their strategy is. We don't know that strategy right now. That can happen right now. It can happen to prop up the price to try to keep it at some level. But most likely they have a strategy on how they're going to use that. And I don't see, I mean, I could be wrong too, but based on what I'm seeing from the signals that we're given and everything, that I don't think we're going to have a reverse split.
Yeah,
and
at this point, I think it's off the table by now. Come on.
yeah, yeah. So
yeah. Excuse me.
How do we feel about the 347 million float? I think we've addressed that.
Which question are you on, Anita? Let's make
Zane,
sure.
Zane, how do you guys feel about the 347 million float? You know, Moderna has a 400 million float. You know, I've looked this up. Like other companies have these, you know, that are biopharms, and they don't have near the diversity in what they're researching that have a high float. I mean,
Here, let me jump in for a second. So here's something to be prepared for, guys. What if on November 15th, the 10Q, the quarterly filing comes out, and they tell you they have 500 million shares and $170 million in cash, or 200 million in cash, or something like that? You know what I mean? Are we going to lose it? Are we going to lose our shit? No, that's what biotechs do. The more cash that this company has, the less it can be manipulated. You can't manipulate a stock and drive it out of business if it has hundreds of millions of dollars. You know what I mean? And $62 billion addressable markets. I appreciate all the comments, Zane, but let's jump through because we're running out of time. Let's jump through to some of these other ones. Go ahead, Nina. Please go through some of these questions.
Thanks for addressing. I agree.
Yeah.
If they wanted to, okay, we got that. That was Brian Weisberg. He said, okay, that was a comment. Oh, it's not true. They did a patent. Okay, somebody was asking about the patent. Yes, that was, I don't know a lot about it. What was interesting to me, that was really interesting to me, is that they had a patent filed and ResMed had a patent filed as well on similar days, and something that you could extrapolate that they might have been correlated just based on what the patents were for. Brian, do you have any comments about the patent?
No, I don't have any comments about the patents, and I'll be honest with you. There's FDA approvals and then there's patents, right? So like, as far as the, you know, I don't even want to speak to it because I don't know, and I don't want to spread misinformation. Right. So yeah, that's something that we have to do our own research on, and that's a great way to contribute to the community, is to, you know, to do some of that research and yeah, update us on, you know, stock twits or whatever are here or whatever. Go ahead. When do you think
so Chris, very concerned because they're not talking about those who are massively down at the moment will immediately sell at a break even when we'll get back to the start again. Yeah, there will be people, you know, that jumped in late, that may take profits. You know, that's part of a reality, and looking at where those resistant zones are in. Looking at where those resistant zones in, I mean, that's going to be part of your charting and the activity, but it doesn't mean that when you see that pullback that you don't have support either. What do you want to say about that, Brian?
Which question was that?
He was talking about concerned about people who are in the red right now that, you know,
who is it? What name?
It's Chris Mallet. I don't want to say
really difficult to, hey Chris, really difficult to minimize the bear noise without a PR, right? So our take on it is that there's a compliance period. It's a silence compliance period. It's from every 10K to every 10Q. There's a period of silence. So, and it's definitely up to the 10-20 date, right? They're not supposed to say anything or omit any information that could affect the stock before an earnings report. So, and I think it's like 21 days, right? So the latest that the quarterly earnings report can come out is November 14th. Yeah. Also, we have the compliance period, which is the 20th of October, which is Monday. They would have had to have filed because the guidelines say that they've had to file. That's why we were all talking about 12 noon yesterday. By 12 noon yesterday, they would have had to have filed to have the correct filing to file for reverse split. So we don't think a reverse split is going to happen. And then to go back to Brian's question earlier about the 20th, I'm thinking they may be silent until the quarterly earnings report comes out in November. You know what I mean? I'm not positive on that, but it may go as long as that. You know, but I will say this: in my opinion, the next announcements, the next PR that does come out are going to be mind blowing, and I believe they're not going to be ripping money off the table now. They've raised the money. You know what I mean? I think that like I used to have a very low opinion of the guy, and then I realized, like, what am I thinking? I'm in a biotech. I'm in a clinical stage biotech. It's the job of the CEO to raise money. All right, let's see. Chris says very concerned because they're not taking those who are massively down at the moment. We'll immediately sell out at break even, and then we'll be back to a start again. That's, you know what? There's a link that I'm going to send you of a YouTube video from Warren Buffett talking about exactly that. Here, I'm gonna put it in the chat for everybody. But yeah. That's the nature of trading. Price doesn't care about us. Price doesn't care about us. The market doesn't care about what price we bought in at. That's all psychology. That's the psychology of trading. You know, and I feel you. I'm not, listen, I have 50,000 shares at 77 cents. I want to sell my car and average down right now. You know what I mean? Because I want a better position. But the market doesn't care. The company doesn't care. The price does not care what price that I bought in at. It's not yeah, go ahead.
I want to add to that though, Brian.
Yeah.
I mean, just to give you a little bit more essence behind that, with the float the way it is, and right now I think it's actually a lot tighter than what we understand, but people simply selling shares is not going to drive the price back all the way down to the start.
Yeah, no.
You know, when that happens and when you're going up and you have momentum, you can have, selling shares, can definitely move the price, obviously, but it depends on where they're selling. You have algorithms and everything else. A lot of what is driving this down right now is a methodology that is being executed off exchange, and it's not just people selling shares. It's like they are literally synthetically engineering a downward push based on millions of movements of shares right now. And what happens is called an algorithmic cascade, and they're pushing those algos to move.
Right. We are liquidity. If anyone doesn't understand that yet, so everyone on here, all of retail is liquidity.
Yeah.
So we are liquidity. So
hopefully, So hopefully, Brian, I mean, just to go back to that, it's like when you have that selling where people are taking profits and that kind of thing, I don't think it's going to happen all at once.
There's also, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, so just so everybody knows, especially when a stock is on the move, like I've learned this over the years, and this is really simple. I'll try to say this in the most simplest way possible. There's somebody on the other side of every trade. Yeah. No matter what the trade is, there's somebody on the other side. Whether it's somebody selling today at 33 cents and closing their position and taking a massive loss, guess what? There's somebody on the other side that just bought all those shares, right? If there's somebody selling at $2 and taking profit, guess what? There's somebody buying all of those shares, and that's what we're doing here. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so you're gonna have supports and things like that that are going on, but it's not like an algorithmic cascade that like what we're seeing right now. What we're seeing right now is extremely synthetic and engineered. It's manipulation, which is common when you're under $1. Let's see the next question. Sorry, I'm going back up to here. Let's say the reverse split is announced and then the price. All right, we read that one.
Did they get a patent? So from what I understand, there's patent applications in Europe. I'm not sure. I know that we have to check into this because I don't want to misspeak. But I think they have a patent in America. I think they were filing patents in Europe for IHL 42X. I think 42X is patented. I think they're good on that one. I don't think you can patent. You can't patent synthetic psilocybin by itself, right? Because it already exists. You can get an FDA approval for combination therapy for general anxiety disorder. That's what they did with ketamine. That's what they did with war veterans with MDMA. So yeah. Go ahead. We got Chris's real difficult to minimize bear noise without a PR. Yeah, we got to wait for the PR. The PR is going to be big. We have a bear here. Can you identify him? Lord, can they still reverse split? I don't know. Let me check on that. I think once you have that ability to do it, they can. Yeah, I think they can at any moment just still reverse split, right? But they have a deadline, right? It's October 20th, right?
It's not just a deadline, but they also, in the language of the reverse split, they have to have board approval and they have to decide on what it's going to be. I mean, there's a whole process based on.
Yeah, you have to file.
So we're past that.
Will President Trump ease? Nina loves this question. Will President Trump easing cannabis rules give value to this?
Yes.
That's Abdullah. Hey, Abdullah.
Yes, Abdullah. Yes, and yes, there is value to this. One of the things that I don't think that IXHL gets enough press around is the rescheduling of cannabinoids. And it doesn't impact their studies. It doesn't impact their clinical studies or anything like that. They can go forward regardless of whether rescheduling happens or not. The benefit of it is more nuanced in the sense that insurance companies will be more conducive to covering the cost of the medications for people. People will become more aware and familiar, as we've seen over the last decade, of medical uses for cannabinoids. It also attracts more investors. There's a sort of stigma against investing in any stock or even medication that uses cannabinoids right now. It has a lot to do with the legal, the legal applications. Is very complicated, especially in the medical cannabis field. But the fact that IXHL is unique because they have FDA involved with their clinical studies, and they are listed on the market. Unlike any other medical cannabis, you can't invest in stocks directly unless they're like in Canada. Otherwise, they're on the OTC. So this is one cannabis stock that you can invest in that is on the market. I think that gives it significant.
Significant legitimacy. Nina, I want to get to we have a bunch of more good questions, but before we get into that, can you talk about really quickly a quick thesis on accumulation? So I'll just say that a lot of people are asking, why is the price getting stuffed down? Why is it getting stuffed down? Well, first of all, guys, you have to remember there's been a lot of global economic stressors that have happened since October 10th or 11th. That Friday was October 10th, the market crashed because Trump started to threaten China tariffs, right? So algos and market makers, they take advantage of that. They flush the price, and that happens, right? Then yesterday the banks, there was like banks were defaulting on loans, and so that news came out. That crashed stocks. Those are all risks. So you'll see that the first stocks that people sell positions on, like smart money sells positions on, is biotech, is risky biotech, whenever there's like global macroeconomic structures like that. But given that said, let's talk about what we do think is happening. outside of when these mass and look, market makers and algos, when there's like global macro news, they smash the price down and take advantage of the stops, of clicking your stops, because they can get away with it, right? But
Yeah.
let's talk about quiet accumulation. Nina, can you address quiet accumulation and then get back into the other questions? Thanks.
Well, that kind of goes hand in hand with what you were saying. I mean, the algos and the market makers tend to go down, but they usually go down to a technical support. But if you have a lot of short selling that's going on already, they are going to take advantage of those algos and market maker, moves down to the support. They're going to push it hard so that they can get it further down. And so that's usually it'll come right back up. But that being said, there are institutional, you can see off exchange, there's a lot of accumulation and buying going on. Particularly over even the last 6 months of the stock itself. So I'm not sure what you want me to address as far as the quiet accumulation. I do
like in terms of like what I think what a lot of us may not realize, or is that what's really happening is that while it looks like the stock is going down.
Yeah.
It's actually people buying in dark pools. They're buying in dark pools. They're accumulating in dark pools. They're selling in lit exchanges, right?
Yeah. If you look at when it gets pressed down, all of a sudden it starts to consolidate and go sideways. Because it's like right where these technicals are, somebody else is coming in and it becomes a buying level. And so they're going to accumulate shares and they're going to continue to accumulate to establish their position. So, typically how it works is when somebody is stepping into a position, you don't just jump all in with, so many millions of shares or hundreds of thousands of shares. You take a position with a little bit or a certain percentage of what you have, and then you average down or you'll average up depending on what your strategy is and what you're trying to do. And you can see that happening on the other side, because even though we get these sharp downward drops, it settles. And then you see it going sideways, basically, like a consolidation zone. And I don't know if you want me to address like UBS or anything like that, but that's in the different.
Yeah, that'd be great. Because I still don't understand that. Yeah, but make sure you're taking some of those questions that we're just ignoring them. Thanks.
President Trump. Okay, so put the link of Warren Buffett and the stock twits. Did you hear that, Brian?
Yeah, I did that already. It's in there.
Okay.
I'm trying to screen share level 2 right now, but I'm having problems.
So Brian Weisberg says, I personally think that most people who are down have already sold out. Possibly, yeah. Thank you, Zane. That's what's from you. Okay, so where do we see the bottom? There's another gap at 20s. You want to comment on that?
That's a tough call. You have a company. In May, everyone was assuming there was 27 million shares. There was going to be this massive short squeeze, and then they bought back the warrants, and then we found out there was, that they raised $50 million, and now there was 93 or 97 million shares, right? Then it was, then we went this very long period. And the company was raising, that $73 million, whatever that amassed to. And then we found out that there's 347 million shares. So, I'm not like some technical guru. You're going to find people that are going to say that there's gaps down there at 8 cents to 20 cents. Is it going to go all the way down there? I don't think it's possible. But then again, you never know with market. Like, listen, if we're going to see flushes and abnormal price action, it's going to be in this quiet period now. And that's why, I don't have a stop loss, and that's not financial advice, but like, I'm not day trading the stock. I'm an investor in this company, and I'm not scared of where the price action is going. I watch it every day on the charts. Will it go down there? And who knows? Who knows? I can tell you this though. I watch it every day and I chart it every day, and I see that day trend line from July 24th when it was $1.66. And I see that we did it yesterday. We broke through that thing for the first time since July yesterday. And as soon as we broke through it, it tried to fight to go up, and it was pushed back down underneath the trend line for optics, right? So it's like, and then today it happened again, and it's being pushed back down. So how long is this going to go on? Most likely until we get a PR. The market makers, algorithm, bears, whatever, whoever is attacking this stock is taking advantage of this silence period, because they're going to do this until we get PR. Yeah. Go ahead.
Can I add some technicals to that too?
Sure. Please.
I'm very much about the charting and dealing with this. And so we had a breakout. Our breakout window happened really around 0.2408. Okay, that's like our base area of breakout. And right now we're sitting at we're sitting just below a Fibonacci, which is when it broke out, it came down, bounced, came back down again. It just bounced a little bit. And that's kind of where we're sitting right now. And then it went up again into the 90s at that point. So where we're sitting is basically would be considered a high support area. And as far as going down further, I think the furthest it can go down is 0.24. If it really wants to move that way, I just have a really hard time seeing it being allowed to, but you can't take it off the table.
No.
The other thing is that you have a line that is very consistent at a base at 0.3, at 30 cents as well. Right now we're struggling to confirm below 0.3655. That's the base of that fib from the second breakout that happened into the 90s, and we're not fully confirmed. I don't believe that we're fully confirmed. If you look at it on a longer chart, you still have the possibility of jumping back up on a longer time frame, because we're just below it. And it's fighting. I mean, the stock is fighting to get up there. So if you look at it, yeah, we have to wait till PR, but Brian, there's also the catalyst of when they announce that there is not that there will be an extension that's granted, obviously.
Right.
On the 10th.
I don't know if that's going to be a PR though.
Yeah, well, it'll be a filing, and the algos will respond. People will respond that the extension is granted, even if they don't do PR. And 10Q, when they release that and they file that, that's going to be really important as well. And I imagine usually with a 10Q, they usually do a conference call, from what I understand.
Right.
And November 14th or 15th.
Right. Yep. All right. Let's go back to some more questions and see if we missed. So, to reverse split. Okay. We don't need financial instrument confirmation on the trajectory of the company long term. In the short term, yes, traders will react accordingly in pursuit of profits. Light shadows. Thank you for that. Chris says if accumulation was happening at a greater rate than 5%, we would have to see an institutional filing, wouldn't we? It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. November 15th is a Saturday, so it's the 14th. Lord Stanley of Preston. Yeah, the 14th was the date actually that I'm going on. Is the latest date that they can file a 10Q. Do you have strong conviction in a big? I have strong conviction that I can't give you evidence on or prove. I'm just insanely convicted that this is going to be like a drug run eventually. Let's see, Chris, accumulation, last save Volkman, and trust the product or trust for a spike. Don't invest in pharma. Johnny English, where do we get confirmation on the reversal if it closes at above 40? I would say 41 today, but I have 41 cents. I'm not sure what Nina has, but anything above, if it flips and breaks through three different time frames, 5, 15, and the day and the week, that would be about 41 cents. I would assume. Then it's probably going to keep moving.
Are you talking about a breakout today?
Yeah. If it would break out today, right now we're trading like right in the middle of the first 15-minute candle. So
yeah, I mean, if it does, I would be surprised. We're below the VWAP right now. We still have that resistance line about 34. I mean, anything is possible, but your highest level of resistance, if you were to break out, is going to be around 0.3593, somewhere around there.
yeah, I love this comment. Lasse Balfin, buying into a pharma company that is pushing FDA and clinical process and hiring professionals and expect share price is concerning the company. They want a winning product. You'll get the upturn in the downturn. I agree completely. And this is like, that's really the bigger picture put in this very small comment, Lasse Volkman, is that, yeah, that's what their concern is. Their concern is that FDA, clinical process, the science, approval, doctors, you know what I mean? They honestly don't think they care that the price is 35 cents. They have an extension for another 180 days. They'll start worrying about that some other time. They're not sitting around at a table thinking about all the retail investors that just bought 100 shares, you know? Is a reverse split happening? No, it's not happening. Where are you coming up with? Just say something says, where are you coming up with the ATM being used? As of right now, the only ATM used was 16.7 million, of which 12 million was used to cancel. No, you're wrong on that. You got to look at the 10K. Go to the Edgar, sec.gov/EDGAR and search for Inconex Health or IXHL. Read the September 29th 10K. It tells you that they raised $73 million. If you do the math, they added about 200 million shares. It's at the market, and that was to the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th. There's been 3.5 months since June 30th. I would bet my house, if I had one, that they completed the $100 million by now.
Yeah, the math adds up on that. And
yeah, I think that the next PR is going to move because they can't dilute it. So then that's one of the things with the stock is that, like, Joel has done his job. People are like, oh, he gets paid so much money. Why did he get paid so much money? Because he was hired to raise $100 million. That's what his job is. So if he can't raise that money as a clinical stage biotech, you're fired.
Yeah.
You're fired. Because it's not about our feelings. It's not about our feelings. Well, I don't like that he diluted. Well, you bought it at the wrong time. You know what I mean? At least we're in a stock that doesn't have toxic financing, loans, warrants. There's no threat with any of that. You know what I mean? So when you buy, like, hey, I did it on August 26th. The general anxiety drug PR came out. I made $48,000 on the stock already, and I threw it all back in, thinking that I was going to ride it into the $5 range. And when the stock started going down and he started diluting millions and millions of shares, did I cut my losses and get out? No, I'm a moron. I bought more and more and more, and now I have 50,000 shares at 77 cents. It's whose fault is that? Mine. You know what I mean? The good news is there's no toxic financing. There's no warrants. There's no cryptic loans and weird shit happening. There's zero debt, and they have 3 global disrupting addressable market drugs. Adding up
that is key. That is definitely key right there, because if it was a concern, we would still see the warrants in play. We would see a dilution on top of the warrants.
Right.
And we would see a financial struggle. And those are the indicators that are not happening that dispel this bearish narrative.
Right. Read the 10K. Read the 10K. There's no new loans. There's no new warrants. There's nothing saying that they owe money to anyone.
Right.
Right.
Well, there's
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
none of that, but the other thing about this is that Joel has technically set them up across the board with a wide range of being able to fund and to draw in investors, while at the same time, and investors like seeing this, that you have, you know, some kind of ATM or you have a cash reserve or that kind of thing. It's, and FDA wants to see it too, is that you are going to be able to fund and see this clinical process all the way through independently. If you can do that and you're strong enough, then we're going to bring in our money to the table.
I love what Light Shadow says. If 100 million out the market is complete, we have much to celebrate. I've been trying to say this for since the 10K came out. No ATM, no reverse split, FDA fast track, a phase 3 drug lineup, potential buyout or partnership with licensing rights, and most likely the reason why they're quiet because the lawyers are telling them none of you can say anything.
Right.
And he says, I'm 100,000 shares deep. Yeah, that's my thesis. This guy right here, Light Shadows, thank you so much for that comment. And then Scotland First, love your comment. That's great. Also, Drug, let's get into any more questions. What makes you say they can't dilute any longer? Look, we don't have confirmation. I think in the 10Q, they're going to look. The most bullish PR that could possibly happen is this quote: $100 million at the market complete, no further dilution without shareholder approval, end quote. Right? If you see that PR, this thing's going into dollars ranges. And then on top of that, they're going to release like all the stuff that this guy just talked about, Light Shadows just talked about. And that's when the stock's going to go to in just dollars. The stock is cooked, guy. All right.
Brian, you missed, I think we didn't address one, or did we, back with Abdullah, or it was somebody talking about Dubai.
Let's take a look. Yeah, let's go back there. 51, 53, that's my average. What if the buyback was at 8 p.m. tonight and then drop PR?
It was Lord Stanley of Preston. Dubai move, CBD and UAE, question mark.
Go ahead.
Yes. I know in the UAE, you have a cultural, aspect that's anti marijuana or drug, but that doesn't mean that they're not interested in medical use. In fact, they're highly interested in medical use and in the biopharma sector. And there's a lot of interest in using plant-based, cannabinoids for medicine, not recreational, of course, but medicinally, yes. And the Dubai move is very unique. To me, it's one thing that signals. Again, it signals that something's going on, that there's a restructuring happening. There is a ResMed facility there, office there, that has to do with distribution, which I think is very interesting. There's a lot of money in
There's
Dubai.
principal offices for Jazz Pharmaceuticals. There's principal offices there for Novo Nordisk. Yeah, it's kind of just the principal offices hub.
Yeah, and there's a lot of investing. I mean, that's where I can see this move from Joel for a number of reasons. Tax benefits. I know Australia is very heavy in how they, tax companies and things like that. So they're going to have a decrease in certain expenses, and they're going to have an increase in investors, hopefully, because it's kind of a hub in order to attract that. So I think it's a very positive move.
Zane asked, what do you think of the experience of the board members? Well, we know what Joel's done. I mean, listen, so far he's raised all this money. He's done his job. I think he could be a little bit more savvy. One of the things that, at this stage, in my opinion, but my opinion doesn't really mean anything. I would be doing at this stage, I would start to use or start to create a marketing and advertising budget and start seeing more advertising. You know what I mean? Commercials, social media. Hire a media agency to just have your stuff across, everything. You know what I mean? TV, have radio commercials, Pandora, whatever you listen to. whatever streaming stuff. You know what I mean? Where are the commercials? That's what I don't understand. It's like I would want to get the word out more, but they're not even at that point yet, which is like but we're kind of at that precipice now where you want the CEO to start talking about like how they are getting the word out. You had stocks like other stocks that have been, even before this stage, that have billboards in Times Square. You know what I mean? Because in the heart of the New York Stock Exchange, or you're watching an NFL commercial and some pharmaceutical company commercial comes on or something like that. So I want to see more of that stuff. I want to see the marketing and advertising side of it, and hopefully they'll use some of that money that they raised to make strategic decisions to start doing that.
Well, and I think that comes also as part of phase 3 as well. And isn't there something, Brian, to do with the fast track aspect of that?
That's the other thing too, and there's also probably silent protocols in terms of marketing and advertising as well. Maybe they don't want to spend that kind of money on when they don't even know what deal they're gonna engage in, or they don't have FDA approval yet, or this, or they haven't gotten a patent approval there. Maybe they want to wait a little while. Yeah, but yeah. And the other thing too is just, if everybody doesn't know this about clinical stage biotech. Buyouts happen at the end of stage 2, beginning of stage 3.
Right.
So just to let you know what I mean? But then again, now that this company has proven that they can raise $100 million and stay in business, they don't have to take the first offer. You know what I mean? Their goal probably now, thanks to us and our money, is that they want to probably get the best deal that they possibly can get. But who knows, man? I definitely don't know anything about that stuff at all. But all I do know is that statistically and historically, buyouts occur at the end of phase 2, beginning of phase 3. The most, I think, like, obviously we have the rheumatoid arthritis drug is pending application, investigation of a new drug, commencement phase 2 in America by the FDA. That's going to happen. It probably already happened. They'll report it any day now. The IXHL 42X is our golden child, and that's already a go. And because like he says, if you gotta listen to these podcasts, he's saying there's so much non-compliance with CPAP masks, right? Our only other competitor who happens to be in phase 3. People are like, oh, but AppMed 109, they're on phase 3 too. They're on phase 3 too. Well, their drug is not as safe. It's not as effective, and it's not a public company, and we are also in phase 3, because if you read the filing, you'll find out in the language that the FDA already fast-tracked phase 3 and it's already occurring. It's taking place right now. So you never know. This company loves to surprise the shit out of us, like they did on August 26th. You could wake up tomorrow and have an announcement that phase 3 is clinical trials have complete, or something like that. Let's see. Get back to the questions, and we're gonna have to shut it down soon though, because we got to get going. Let's see. Pink Floyd, no. Wesley, behind the stream, but I'm wondering if you have discussed the possibility of competition involved in coordinating efforts to drop the price to make it less attractive to big investors. Yeah, absolutely, Wesley. I think that's what's happening right now. And the other thing too is, like, zooming out, and from what little experience I have, I think, the market makers, algorithms, everything, they're trying to pin the price, to create this price suppression. I know this sounds crazy, but to create the optics that this is a valueless company, and so that we give up the shares. Because remember, I keep saying this, 347 million shares is nothing when there's a feeding frenzy. When an announcement comes out, they have so many catalysts that can come out that they could just rapid fire, go catalyst, and those 347 million shares is nothing on that day. When everybody is buying and the price starts running. So my advice: set your good to cancel, tiered limit sell orders. Wherever you're going to take profit in chunks. Make sure you take profit. Don't miss those big run ups. And remember, they need a filing. to access more of the shelf registration, in my opinion. I think the biggest announcement will be that the at-the-market's complete and no new dilution without shareholder approval. That could be the smartest thing that this company could ever announce. If they do that, then the stock's going to fly. Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you, Brian.
Yeah.
And,
Where's the $50 guy?
where's our $50 guy? I love that.
All right. So listen, I want to thank everybody that came today.
Yes.
And I want to thank Nina so much for being my guest and taking the chance on doing this with me. And
thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I just want to acknowledge everyone that came on today. Thank you so much for all the intelligent questions and discussions. And as far as patents and stuff, let's help each other. Let's do the research. We got to do this as a team, and let's just keep communicating with each other. And we'll see you guys next time. Okay. Does anybody have a quick question before we leave? Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate your comments and questions. So have a good
All right. Thanks, guys. I'm going to end the stream. Have a great day. Thank you, Nina.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.